Hello, my name is Dana Louise, and I'm the author of This Is Gonna Sound Weird. You should check it out. You'll find it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and a couple other bookstores that are on the internet. And in it, I describe what has happened to me for all of my life. I'm an experiencer and a contactee. The great aliens started to visit me while I was still an infant. And over the years, the whole paranormal and supernatural worlds have dropped by to check me out. I don't know why. But I finally am coming out of the cosmic closet and sharing my story with you. And now I'm starting to read, I'm going to read the beginnings for 10 minutes of each chapter. And hopefully that'll entice you, and maybe you'll be inclined to purchase my book. There's also an ebook, and hopefully one day soon I'll make an Audible. So anyway, let's dig in, class. Let's go to chapter 3. I named it How Many Shades of Gray. And I start off my chapters with a quote, and this one's from Carl Sagan. The universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, seems like an awful waste of space. Or did I say that right? I don't think so. The universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, seems like an awful waste of space. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start reading. Are you ready to go a bit deeper now? I'll try to put the chapters in the same way that I experienced them, but it's going to get sloppy. I need to bounce back and forth. We can explore the past together as the timelines unfold. Let's start in the early 60s. Transition music. It all began when I was an infant. You know the movies Monsters, Inc.? It was like that, only for real. And the creatures weren't behind my closet door. No, they were at the window. It wasn't screams they were collecting, because I never yelled out. But they were there for something. I'm just not sure what. Who were they working for? Or why? It's a mystery. This was my defining moment. If you're unfamiliar with the term defining moment, let me explain. It's an event where trauma occurs that dramatically changes the course of a person's life. This occurrence deeply shifts the path that would have naturally unfolded had the disruption not taken place. That's exactly what happened to me. Pablo Picasso's life is the best example of a defining moment. When Pablo was 3, a great earthquake shook his village. 4,000 homes fell. 800 people died that day. As the ground began to shift, little Pablo was swept up by a protective adult who carried him off to safety over their shoulder. While fleeing, the scene in the streets would have flowed by. It must have been chaotic, emotional, and jagged. 3 days later, his sister Lola was born. Death and birth, destruction and creation. This experience was his defining moment. Much of his art is a repetitive confusion of fragmented pieces that express the words he couldn't volunteer as a child. The canvas became a cathartic way of expressionism for him. An eye over here, a breast over there, bounce, 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 a bright destruction. To make a memory last forever, you need to fire up all your senses, taking it all in, sound, scent, sight, touch, being totally present in the now. That's where I would find myself during the events that occurred. My faculties would get all fired up, totally engaged, making memories. That's how I remember things from a long time ago so clearly. I thought I was going to die. The visitors were out there, invisible, haunting me, biding their time, arriving when the stage was set, when the household was asleep, when the neighborhood was dozing. Going to bed wasn't fun for me. Most kids put up a struggle, but I had bigger reasons why I hated going to sleep. On top of that, every night I had to recite an old-timey prayer that my mom said as a kid. I hated it, and I told her so. Seemingly innocent enough, it only made things worse. My anxiety would rise up, and I was made to speak the words out loud. It set the scene. I felt like I was betraying myself on a certain level. Self-betrayal. Seems like the opposite reaction you should have. Aren't prayers supposed to be about being grateful, giving thanks, sending love and protection to others, blah, blah, blah? Nothing like that was happening here. I put my little hands together and say, now I lay me down to sleep, like I'm surrendering. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Wait, what? As opposed to who else? If I should die before I wake? I thought I was going to sleep. If I should die, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Boom. What a trick. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Was there some cosmic competition out there? Is someone waiting to snap up my mortal soul? Like one of those visitors? How could I rest after that? Sounds more like a dare, not a prayer. What evil bastard wrote this? Good night, my mom would blithely offer. Click, off went the lights. Sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite, as she closed the door behind her. This appeal to God played with my emotions. I felt I was taking a risk by going to sleep every night. This so-called prayer installed fear instead of peace. Did other kids have to say this junk too? The horror. My best friend was Jenny Jo. Our backyards touched, so as soon as we could walk, I toddled my way over to her house where all the action was. She had 4 older brothers and sisters, 5 kids born in 4 years. Can you say Catholic? There was always someone to play with. My house was too quiet. I practically lived there. At the end of 6th grade, our friendship ended and we lost touch. Still, she was my sister and would always be. Fast forward 4 decades, and her profile popped up on my Facebook feed as People You May Know. Oh, wow. It was so good to see her sweet, now adult, smiling face, smiling back after me after all this time. She hadn't changed a bit. And with nothing to lose, I sent out a friend request. She accepted. We made a date to meet over chips and margaritas like true longtime girlfriends do. Her grin beamed at me the moment we spotted each other from across the restaurant. We hugged and the missing years fell away. We were back to us. Catching up over a few behemoth margaritas, we realized how much we still had in common. We were still sisters. Spit sisters, even. We'd made a pledge to be sisters forever with some spit and handshake. To seal the deal, I guess it worked. Our discussions grew deeper. Tequila tends to do that. Then, for some strange reason, I started to blurt out about my late-night visitations from way back when. I felt I had no control over it. Words were just spewing out of my face like crumbs, and I couldn't stop them. Sipping on her straw, Jen sat back and took in what I was nervously blabbing about. My inner voice was simultaneously screaming, "Abort the subject!" while I kept on confessing. "Oh my God, why are you saying this? She's going to think you're crazy. You're never going to see her again." But it was too late. There was no way to shove the words back into my mouth like the chips I'd been inhaling. Expecting an eye roll or some indication that she wasn't on board, her reaction was quite the opposite. Reaching across the table, she touched my hand to interrupt me. I stopped. I blinked. Her face was radiantly beaming back at me. I was shocked. She looked into my eyes reassuringly. "Dana, I remember the sounds and vibrations too." And that closes that chapter. Stay tuned for chapter 4. Thank you. Bye.